Today on the Coaches White Podcast, we welcome a two-time NCWWC national qualifier for Division I school Presbyterian College. While she was in high school, she was a four-year letter winner. She was also a two-time captain, four-time boys upper state qualifier, South Carolina girls state champ, 2018 South Carolina senior female wrestler of the year, three-time South Carolina national team member, and she's currently coaching at Huntingdon College. We'd like to welcome Coach Lillian Humphries to the Coaches White Podcast. With the world of coaching evolving and the carousel always changing, we're going to sit down with some coaches and we're going to figure out what they coach, how they coach, and most importantly, why they got into this profession. My name is Kason Wilkinson, and I am your host of the Coaches White Podcast.
That was my Coaches White.
Welcome back to another episode of the Coaches White Podcast. Today we have a special guest. You guys heard in the introduction who she is, but we also have a returnee, if that's what you want to call him. Coach Marquise Camp out of St. Andrews is here, and he brought somebody along with him. So everybody give him a big round of applause. Welcome him back. Today we have Coach Lillian Humphries from Huntingdon, right? Huntingdon. Huntingdon. There we go. I spent there was a few tries trying to say that college today. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's a great day. Pretty weather out here. So.
Yeah, and you're in Alabama, right? Is what I think you were saying.
Yes. So it doesn't really get cold until like first week of November. It's probably another week of warm weather until it starts to get cold. So.
I got you. Probably a dumb question, but do y'all get snow in Bama?
So this is my third year here and we haven't got anything since I've been here, but I was told the January of 2022 they had gotten like a dusting.
Okay.
So
shut down the schools. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so
yeah, okay. I got you. Coach Camp, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you guys?
Can't complain, man. Still alive, still breathing. Get to talk to you guys on this wonderful Monday, so I can't complain. So before we kind of dive into, you guys have already heard Coach Camp's background and kind of who he is. We had a full episode last season, but Ms. Humphries is going to be here for the first time. So I'm going to pass it along to her. Coach, if you don't mind, just kind of letting everybody know who you are, what sport you currently coach, where you're from. And obviously I know we already talked about the school, but just kind of give people a little bit of a breakdown about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Lillian. I am living in Montgomery, Alabama, at Huntingdon College. I'm the head women's wrestling coach here, and I'm from Greenville, South Carolina originally. I went to Presbyterian College all 4 years there, and then I graduated and came out here and started coaching. So this is my third year here, but this is my first official year as head coach, so I'm super excited to, continue to build the program. Here, I started it from scratch as the assistant, and then I moved up to head coach. So,
heck yeah, that's awesome. Heck yeah, I see the progression and opportunities come knocking. You got to take them. That's awesome. So I know you said that you're in Alabama and you're in Montgomery. I know that you said that you've known Coach Camp for a little while, right? So how do you guys know each other? Or where did you guys kind of first meet, and how did that relationship grow?
Well, I'll say we didn't get I didn't know him super well. I knew of him. He was coaching at Berea whenever I was in high school. I wrestled at Blue Ridge High School in Greer, South Carolina. He was at Berea. And so I knew who he was, but I didn't get to really know him until I got, I think, on into college. And then once I came out here, Coach Oliver, he's our head men's coach, our director of wrestling. He's good friends with Marquise. So I've gotten to know him really well over the past couple of years now. But I was 14 or 15 when I first
met him. I gotcha. Well, for anybody who's listening to this episode, all three of us are talkers. Coach Camp and I just talked on Saturday for well over an hour on some just random stuff. So if this episode goes long, I do apologize, but that's what you guys are in store for today. So Coach Camp, what was your kind of first initial, whether reaction or first initial kind of interaction with with Coach Humphries here. What did you see in her? Did you see anything that kind of stood out to you whenever you were as a coach watching her compete?
She's always been tough, man. I mean, that was a time, especially in South Carolina, you still had a lot of the girls competing with the guys. And, she was one of those girls that always was one of the ones you had to watch out for. Always worked hard. When I noticed that she was getting ready to try to get into coaching and stuff, I had seen on Facebook she was doing some like clinics and doing some stuff. And me and Matt had been talking a little bit, and I know he was looking to bring in a female coach. And this is before I really decided I was getting ready to, go collegiate and coach. And I know I kind of mentioned it to him, and just to see the work that she's done over the last couple of years, the short years being there. I mean, they're doing a jam up job down there, man. They're doing really well. They did really well last year. We went down to the tournament. I mean, it's got some tough girls and stuff, and she's really laying a good foundation down there, especially for the state of Alabama, because I'm about 99% sure they're the only school in Alabama with women's wrestling. So just them doing that and giving young ladies another platform or opportunity to compete is good to see.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's really cool. We don't even have a girls wrestling program in collegiately out here in New Mexico, so that's cool to see that happening out there. So Miss Coach Humphries, do you go? What do your kids call you? Do they call you Coach Humphries? They call you Coach Lil? What do they do?
Coach Lillian or Co-Lil, they'll call me.
Lil?
Yeah.
I kind of like that. All right, Lil. I'm gonna have to start using that one. All right. All right. Yeah, I don't know how you even do that. Lil. I'm not gonna do that. Coach Lil, Coach Lillian, Coach Lil. I like that one better. Coach Lil sounds better. So before we kind of dive into like your coaching journey, I kind of want you to talk a little bit about you as the person. Kind of where did you grow up? I know you said where you grew up. I know it was in. You kind of already mentioned that, but when did you get involved in the sport of wrestling? People who, just so everybody knows, we have kind of a prolific athlete here. So if she doesn't want to brag on herself, I know Coach Camp will do it. And you guys probably heard in the introduction, what we got here. But we kind of have a prolific athlete, if you would. So I'm going to let you kind of break down when you started, in the sport, what age and how that developed.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, like northern Greenville County, close to like 30 minutes south of Hendersonville, North Carolina. So I'm pretty close to the North Carolina border. My dad was in martial arts pretty much my whole life. He did Taekwondo for a long time, and then he got into jiu-jitsu. And, he had shown me stuff here and there. I have two older sisters, and, we do stuff on each other because he teaches stuff. So, I'd kind of been in martial arts for a long time. And then my dad became a single dad of 3 girls, and he had seen like I think it was like a video, a news article or something about a girl who had gotten attacked in college. And he was terrified that, that could happen to us. And so at a young age, he put us in Krav Maga, which is an Israeli self-defense. And we did that for a couple years. And then the gym we were at started offering jiu-jitsu. And I knew my dad did it and he liked it. And I was like, hey, I want to give it a shot. So I did jiu-jitsu for a little bit. And then I was 12 years old. And I told my dad I wanted to be a UFC fighter. And because, we watched UFC a good bit together. And really got into jiu-jitsu, and my dad was like, well, any good fighter is a good wrestler, so you should wrestle when you get to high school. And I was like, I don't know. And but I got to high school, and ultimately I ended up doing it, and I was the only girl on my team all 4 years of high school. My first year was pretty rough because I had never wrestled at that point, and I was thrown onto varsity because we were rebuilding our program at Blue Ridge. And but I ended up loving it, and I ended up being a captain my junior and senior year of high school. I really had made a name for myself when I first started. Everybody's like, oh, it's just some girl. And then by the time I was finishing up high school, they're like, oh no, it's that girl. So that made me feel good. I actually didn't know if I didn't think I was going to go to college to wrestle, actually. And I had ended up joining the South Carolina national team. It was not as big as it is now, but I was one of very few girls on the team. And Robert Delgado was the coach at that time, and he had really convinced me, and he was really pushing me to go to college to wrestle because he knew I had a lot of potential in me. And so by my senior year, I was like, I'd visited some schools that not for wrestling, and then I had a school reach out to me. Well, I had talked to a couple of schools, but I was like, I just don't think this is for me. And but then I had a school out in Montana, actually University of Providence. So it's funny that you brought up his name talking yesterday. At the time, I flew out there after Thanksgiving my senior year, and I was like, oh man, I loved it. It was small, and it was kind of like all the signs were pointing to that. And it was actually funny. My dad's boss, his kids were friends with someone who had just moved to the same town. And so I got to meet him, and like, it just felt right. Like, it felt like, oh, this is meant to be, And I thought that's where I was going to go. And then Coach Cody, Mark Cody, was starting Presbyterian College in Clinton, South Carolina. And Division I program in the country, first collegiate team in the state of South Carolina at the time. And ultimately, I just felt like that was the better opportunity for me. And I stayed in my home state, and I went to college down there. And, I enjoyed my time. I dealt with injuries throughout college and things like that. So I didn't really achieve everything I wanted to in college. But I had amazing time, amazing friends I met, and ultimately the opportunities I got at Presbyterian are what like catapulted me into coaching college and all of that fun.
That's crazy. I did not know that, but I small world about Coach Atwood out there as well. So I guess I kind of want to mention and jump back to what you mentioned about you were a girl on the boys' side, and you were kind of forced to jump in there, right? That you didn't have the opportunity to have like a girl side. And I kind of want both of your guys' opinions on this. I'll start with you, Coach Humphries, of course. Do you think that being forced to wrestle boys in high school, kind of from the jump, made you a better wrestler when you transitioned to wrestling girls? There's some girls who are in privilege to where I wouldn't say privileged, but they start on wrestling girls and that's all they wrestle. So they kind of, however you feel, however they are in that world, whoever their competition is, and they don't ever really wrestle boys, but you were kind of forced to do that. Do you think that helped you when you got to either the seniors, when you got to be senior, or when you did transition into the college side of things?
Yeah, I think it helps me in ways you don't think it helps, or the ways you wouldn't think about. It wasn't necessarily that it helped me be a better physically a better wrestler, because, for me, I was cutting a lot of weight to like stay low. So I wasn't wrestling, really, strong guys. But for me, it helped me be tougher than I feel like some people can be. And because like when you're a girl and you're wrestling boys, especially, I feel like this is more of a Southern thing. Boys don't want to lose to a girl, or
right.
Don't want to get beat by, like, they don't want to get beat by a girl, or they don't want to beat up a girl. And that's their whole argument and stuff. And, I was fortunate enough to have, I never really had anybody not wrestle me because I was a girl. But I did have people go a little harder on me because I was a girl. And I think that, it thickened my skin a little bit. It made me tough. And it helped me when I went to college because, now as a coach, I see girls like, they didn't have to deal with the same things I did. And then they come to college and it's harder. And then they ultimately end up not making it. And through college, it's so hard. Whereas like it was tough when I got to college, don't get me wrong, but like I was able to push through that because I'd already had to push through so much junk in high school because I had to deal with boys beat me up all the time. And but I did become I became a good wrestler. But it's different because you wrestle boys so much differently than you wrestle girls. So although like it did help me in a way as far as my actual wrestling, like I think that I would have gotten the same from wrestling girls. The difference is like how tough I was and like up because, somebody
Yeah.
something like that. So that's how I do think like it did benefit me to wrestle boys in high school, but I don't feel like I had to at the time. If I could go back, could have wrestled girls in high school, I would have been okay with that too. So.
And that's fair. I know that probably really helps. I would assume the mental side a lot more, right? Like you getting beaten by a boy all the time. I'm assuming it makes you either quit or makes you work harder. Coach Camp, I know that you've been kind of in the recruiting game of this for a little bit longer than her, and I guess just in general. Have you recruited a girl who was kind of in her situation to where she didn't have an opportunity to wrestle girls all the time? And did you see anything different whenever you brought her in, or when you're recruiting her, was there anything that kind of stood out that might be different from when you see a girl who's only wrestling girls?
Actually, I've seen both sides of it. One of the girls that we have in Lainey Rhodes, I've been knowing Lainey for a while, but she was kind of in one of those like kind of right before the women's scene got really kind of up and more competitive and more popular in South Carolina. And one of my girls that's been here for a while, Joella Hudo, Jade Hudo, she was kind of around the same time when Lillian was coming through, where it was a lot of competition where, the girls really competed a lot with the guys and the women's teams weren't really kind of developed yet. And she's probably one of the toughest humans beings in our room. I mean, she's really tough. But she also was, competing against boys and stuff in high school and women, and made it to the regional tournament in North Carolina in high school and stuff. But I piggyback off what Lillian says. I mean, back then, especially, when I first started coaching, I always had my girls and stuff, but I didn't treat them no different than I did my guys. And one thing I learned real quick with coaching young ladies is they want to be treated as equal. They want to be treated as wrestlers. And I've always, done that. I've always stuck by that. One of my young ladies who wrestled at Limestone, Hannah Maines, when I was at Ashley Ridge, coaches always, when you kind of having those tough practice stuff, you always kind of look at one of your hardest working kids, kind of when to gauge it off of and when to kind of dial back and keep going. And she was always the one I looked at. And if she was going hard and she still had more in the tank, I was like, well, everybody else still got more in the tank. And it was just beautiful to see. But just to having that transition of those girls like competing with those guys and stuff, man, like when they went to tournaments, they did actually wrestle other girls. They were able to stay in the matches. They were able to compete and stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things, man. It's kind of hard. Like, I really appreciate that because you know what you're getting when you get women that, kind of are in those tough rooms and stuff like that and kind of handle that adversity and stuff. But, I mean, that's not to say that, anybody else that you get and they just been on an all-female team that they're not going to be tough. But just them having that edge and kind of just been through the real, like a grind is kind of an advantage, I think. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I can see how it definitely play a role in all positive across the board. If you're on the recruiting side of things. So Coach Lillian, as you developed in the sport of wrestling, when did you realize that you could, participate at the next level? When was your aha moment that you could say, "Oh, I can do this at the next level"? And then once you got to that stage, so this is kind of a two-parter. When did you, what was your recruiting process like? I know you said that you talked to a few different schools, and I know you flew out to Montana, is what you were mentioning. But what was your overall, aha moment to get to that point? And then when you were in it, what was your recruiting process like?
Yeah, for me, like I was kind of, like I said, I was like hesitant about wrestling in college because there was a long time where I didn't know if I was good enough to go to college and wrestle. I didn't have, at the time we didn't have a ton of girls to look up to like, especially in our area, we'd only had a handful of girls ever go to college to wrestle in our state at that time. So I didn't really have a lot of girls to like look up to like see like, all right, like is this possible? Is this what I should do? And luckily I had a lot of people in my corner, and people who like uplifted me and like were like, no, like you really are. And so I started actually going through the recruiting process before I was like, okay, no, this is what I'm meant to do. Like I'm good enough to do this. So I'd actually started the recruiting process. I talked to a couple of schools, I think maybe Adrian. I talked to Ottawa and Kansas, like just texting, and I had a phone interview with Ottawa and stuff. And I was, I didn't know that nothing felt totally right to me. Like, I believe, especially now that I've been through college and I'm a college coach, like I truly believe like you're going to know what's like the right place for you. You're going to feel it. So the first few, I really just didn't feel it. I didn't think that that's what was for me. And so that's when I had started looking at other schools that weren't for wrestling. And then I got the opportunity out in Montana, and something just felt different. Like I really, like I didn't have like a long like talk with the coaches before I went out there. Cause at the time it was Tony Deanda and his wife, Danny. They were the coaches out there at the time. And, I didn't have a long talk with them, but everything was kind of falling in place. There were so many signs that were like, no, like you should go check this place out. My dad had seen a random like advertisement for the school in newspaper he had in South Carolina. And he was like, this is a sign. And then we found that connection through those families. And we're like, let's just go see. Let's see what it's about. And I went out there and I really loved the area. Looking back now, I don't know if I would have survived the cold, but I enjoyed it. I liked the coaches. I liked the school, and the team seemed great. And so that's really where I thought I was going to go. And it was a couple more months later. I was kind of waiting to do my signing day with my school. And literally a week before my signing day, my dad had met a guy on a job site. My dad's he works in construction, and he had met a guy on a job site. And this guy had a connection to Coach Cody and was like, hey, like my dad obviously brags about me because I am the favorite of the family. And
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
bragging me to this guy. And he was like, hey, like I know Mark Cody down at Presbyterian. He's starting a women's team. Like you should really give him a call. And my dad came home to me and was like, hey, like I'm going to call this coach. Like I'm just letting you know, let's just see. And I was like, okay, but like I'm signing in 1 week. I better have an answer in 1 week. And I had that weekend we went down to PC. I had visited and I talked to Coach Cody. Like I loved it. I loved the vision Coach Cody had. I liked the school overall. Like I knew the moment like I was kind of on campus, I knew that's where I was gonna go. I knew that's what was for me. And so the crappy thing is I then had to call the Deandas and tell them I'm not coming to, the University of Providence. And I hated making that call because, that's so like nerve-wracking. You just don't want that. Well, it was funny because a couple months later, it turns out they left Providence and took the job at PC. So they ended up my coaches at PC anyways. But it was a few weeks before I visited PC that I realized like I was meant to wrestle in college. I wrestled at our state tournament, and at the time it was like 70 girls maybe in the whole tournament, maybe less than that in the whole tournament. And I had lost my first match, and I shouldn't have lost the match. And I had wrestled all the way back to the third place match, and I ended up having to wrestle the same girl from the first match that I lost again, and I beat her like I was supposed to. And it was kind of like that moment of like, man, sometimes losing makes the victory more sweeter like later. And it kind of made me realize like, okay, like, I didn't finish how I wanted to finish here, but like I don't want this to be the end. And I think that I could do well in college. And then I ended up visiting PC and loved it. And it all just ended up just falling in place like I felt like it was supposed to. So that's kind of how, my recruiting process is a little different than some, but
yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah.
It was
I know.
Work. that like they ended up being my coaches anyway. So then they knew I called them. They were like already planning to move, so they were just like, "Oh, okay," like, and they didn't tell me.
I think that you said, I know when you said that you were your dad's favorite or the family favorite, I mean, I think them moving down there after that just was like God's telling you, like, I told you so. But Coach Camp actually last year last time we spoke, he talked about like when he's recruiting, he's talking about character and what he sees. And I'm assuming that's like, couldn't be more perfect of what, when he's recruiting somebody, at least, I'm not going to speak for him, but kind of like you lost that first match, you wrestled all the way back, which is in any tournament's difficult. And then wrestling that same girl or guy, and beating them in whatever fashion, with 1 point or a pin, all the in between, is a big character thing. So I'm assuming, Coach Camp, if you want to say anything, you can, but I know that that's exactly what you're looking for, or, I'm sure that's exactly what you mean whenever you say you're recruiting character.
Oh yeah, 100%, man, because that shows that somebody can handle adversity. Like I tell our kids I've been saying this since I was a high school coach. At the end of the season, when you get into your regional, your respective regional tournaments, conference tournaments, or tournaments, go on to bonus wrestling at the end of the year, make it national states or whatever. It's always two kind of people that exist. It's those people that want to continue and those people that are ready to be done. And those people that are ready can be done can be your better kids at the tournament. I mean, those will be the kids that if somebody kind of takes them to deep waters and they're tired of cutting weight, they're tired of competing, their body's beat up, they're just going to let it happen. They're going to fizzle out. And, it's those kids that want to grind and go on. Like, it's like what Lillian said. I mean, that's carbon copy. I mean, it's like very dead on, because a lot of kids, you lose that first match, then they're just like, all right, this is over with. Like, me coming back on the backside, that's too hard. That's not something that, like, I'm not willing to get uncomfortable to get comfortable again, because, I put myself in a bad situation. So anybody that could come backside of a tournament and win out and then turn around, and plus you beat the person that already beat you in the first round, that shows a lot, man. Because it's too easy at that point, especially coming on the backside, to just give in. It's too many things. Like, you could have a tight match or something could go wrong. You go out and you give up 8, 9, 10 quick points. You're down. You're in a hole, and you have that situation at that point. And it's like, all right, what do I do? How do I handle this adversity? How do I come back? And when kids can do that and they can grind and come all the way back, I mean, that's the thing of beauty, man. Like I said again, goes back to that. It's two types of people that exist at the end of the season, man. People that want to continue and be the best version of themselves they could be, or them people that are okay, satisfied, and just kind of ready for it to all be over.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that goes a long way in what you're recruiting. I mean, is that something you look for, Coach Lil, whenever you are recruiting nowadays as a coach? Is that something that you pinpoint or pay attention to whenever you're trying to get somebody to come to your school as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thing too is not only like seeing how kids handle adversity and seeing how they handle those tough losses, is like also like not only in how they like transition their wrestling, but also like their actual attitude. And like, you lose this tough match, like you could easily just be done, like throw your headgear around and yell at your coach or your parent because they're trying to encourage you or something. But it's another thing to like lock in and be like, okay, like I made this mistake. Now I gotta like fix it. I gotta turn it around, and I gotta come out on top. Like that's definitely what I look for. It's for sure.
Right. Okay. So I'm glad that you guys are on the same page. I love that you guys both have, that's something you guys search for when it comes to athletes, and obviously you got to experience that. So that's really cool. So was there ever a coach in your life who made an impact? Let me reword that. Was there ever a coach who made an impact in your life? And if so, why and who?
Yeah, there's a lot for me, honestly, because I've been very fortunate enough to have all the coaches I've had, or, all the main coaches that have coached me have been very influential to my life and have influenced me to become a coach as well. Because I know a lot of girls who, especially girls in South Carolina who did have to be on the boys teams. Like they didn't have that same experience as me. But my very first coach, wrestling coach, was Coach Joey Fetterspiel. And, he could have easily like written me off and been like, oh, no, not a girl. Like, never wrestled, like, because I was not the best my first year wrestling, and he could have easily like not put a time into me, but he poured into me. He included me in on the jet, like, when they're cutting up, like he didn't like shun me to the corner like that I've seen some girls have to deal with. So just him being inclusive and him being like encouraging to me and believing that I could be good, like that made a huge difference in me. And then he left after my freshman year, and I got a coach. His name's Austin Weathers, and he, wasn't like super like emotional or wasn't super like lovey like to everybody, but he, you could tell when he believed in you, and he could tell when he poured into you, and he definitely did that to me. And like he wanted me to be good, and he didn't. He understood that girls were different than boys and that we wrestle different. We have to kind of really focus on what we're good at and not what coaches think that we should be good at. And he really helped me realize what kind of wrestler I was. But, and then I had my national team coach, Coach Brandy Green, was also a big influence on my life. And something that she told me when I kind of was looking into getting in coaching, like made a huge difference in how I look at coaching and wrestling in general. And she was like, look, like, I want to learn all the time. She was like, I want to constantly be learning. And even as a coach, like you should be learning something all the time. And once you stop learning is when you should get out of coaching.
Time to give it up. Yep.
Yeah. So I have really taken what she, and she was the first woman coach I'd ever had. So in pretty much any sport that I played. And so it was kind of different, getting a different perspective from a woman and her dealing with the same thing. She wrestled boys in high school, and she was like kind of on the world level. So she didn't get to wrestle girls on that side.
That's the point, right?
She was super influential on my life to see the different perspective and the inclusion and all that stuff. And then when I got to college, like Coach Cody is like probably one of the biggest influences on my life as far as wanting to get into coaching. I saw what he dealt with on all the time, and he constantly like had a positive attitude, and he poured into the athletes who like truly wanted to be there, and like he loved us all like his own kids. And he did stuff like, like his family lived in a different state for 2 years before they moved to South Carolina. So like he sacrificed so much, and I saw all of that, and it really like, I knew I wanted to coach, but he was like the type of coach I like strive to be like. And then we have some other, really supportive coaches other coaches that I've had in my life, tons of them. And, I can't name them all, but those were like my main ones that like influenced me become a coach and what type of coach I wanted to be. So that's all.
Heck yeah. The thing is, whenever I do these, the reason why I do these podcasts is for one that and the reason I asked that question is so you can give those coaches flowers, right? I've had a few. I know Coach Camp talked to me about whenever we did ours. He had a few as well. Every athlete has a coach that made an impact in their life, and I've even talked to some coaches on here that's like they've said, I guess they didn't say any names, but there's going to be bad coaches and there's going to be good coaches that you have in your life, and you can learn from both of them, especially when you get into coaching, right? It's like, I know what this bad coach did for me, so I know what not to do because I experienced that. But then I also can take all the good things that I got from these other coaches and I can pour that into these kids. So even if you got the bad or good, right, it's always really nice because when you get to that coaching level, you know what to do. So, you can name, I've had coaches name 4, 5, 6. I've had some just say 1. I don't care. That's why we ask that question, is because, it kind of dives back into like almost like your roots, right? Like these coaches influenced me so much to where now, this is why I do it, right? And obviously I'll get to that question later, but that's a big reason why you coach, is because of the impact they had on you, right? Like, I don't know if you probably haven't heard these. I don't even know if Coach Camp knows this. I'm sure we talked about it as well, but like I grew up just with my mom, so I never had a dad. So my coaches were my father figures in most of my life, right? So wrestling coaches, football coaches, those guys who really were around me still to this day, were so influential on me to where when I coach, I have a lot of those same kids that were just like me, right? They couldn't afford camps. They couldn't afford to travel. They needed me. They needed the program more than the program needed them, type of thing. And so that's why I do it, and so I love it whenever so don't feel bad for diving into those things, because I think that's a huge piece of being a coach and really a successful program, because those kids buy in. If they buy, those kids are easy to get to buy in and they'll run through a brick wall for you if you coach them correctly, So I appreciate talking a little bit about everything that you've went through as an athlete and some of the coaches that matter to you. So, but now I want to dive into you as a coach. And Coach Camp, I would really like, I'll ask you some questions as well to kind of jump in here in a few minutes. But kind of tell me a little bit about where you started coaching, and how you got, into the actual, idea of coaching, and when did you know that that's something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I mean, like I think like any high schooler, you jump around from what you think you want to do and all of that. And at one point, I wanted to be a chef. Another point, I wanted to be in the CSI. Like I was kind of all over the place. But it was actually my junior year of high school, and I realized I wanted to be a coach. And it actually wasn't at a wrestling practice. It wasn't at a wrestling match when I realized I knew I wanted to coach. So my junior year of high school, throughout high school, I'd played softball after wrestling season to kind of not be lazy. And my junior year, I had a coach me to run cross country, and I hate running, so I don't really know why I did it, but I was like, it's okay, but I might as well just do it.
Right.
So I was running cross country, and it was one day at practice. It was the last thing we were doing. We were like running across the football field, a full 100-yard dash kind of thing. And me and a couple girls had already finished ours. We're kind of waiting on some other people. And I was looking down across the field, and I was like yelling and cheering the girls on, encouraging them to like, come on, like give it their all kind of thing. And it was like, that was like the moment it clicked for me. Like, man, like, I think I want to be a coach. Like this is what I want to do. And I think it's so funny that it was at a cross country practice, because I hated cross country. I hate running. I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
As I was like,
same, by the way, same. Yeah. Same.
As I was looking at myself and looking at wrestling, I was like, I really love that aspect of things. Like I like being an athlete. I like doing it myself, but I also like, essentially coaching my teammates on the side or helping them in practice. Like I like that. And
right.
So that's how I knew I wanted to. So I let everybody know that's what I wanted to do. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I went to college, and PC didn't have a coaching or physical ed major. So I went in as a history major thinking I was going to be a teacher and coach high school at the same time. I quickly realized I didn't want to do that. And I studied business with a coaching minor. We did have a coaching minor that they didn't let me finish, but that's another story for another day. But throughout college, I was helping with the national team, I was kind of helping with the national team with Coach Brandy a little bit. And she had then, after my freshman year of college, she had taken the job. Limestone had added women's wrestling, so she took that job. And she had a camp that she would do in the summertime, and she let me come be like a camp counselor coach type of role at it, so I could get a little bit of hands-on experience doing that. And I had the other opportunities throughout college to do little things like Greenwood High School, about 30 minutes or so from PC, did a girls kind of tournament, and they had me come in and talk a little bit, show a little stuff. So like I did stuff like that. And then my senior year of college, I had wrestled like 2 matches, and then I ended up needing shoulder surgery. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries, so my shoulders are awful, but it was my second shoulder I needed. And I ended up having to end my career to have surgery. I just couldn't make it through the season. And so my whole second semester, my senior year, I interned. I was an intern for the wrestling team pretty much for Coach Cody, and Zach Schaefer was the women's head coach at the time. And I was kind of their intern, and I really got involved on the recruiting side of things. I was a student recruiter all through college, but especially my senior year helping with the wrestling team. I helped them. I helped like organize our prospect camp. Like I did all kinds of stuff. I was at tournaments and talking to girls. Like I did stuff like that all through college. And it was kind of funny that I thought that I was going to go into youth or high school coaching. I didn't know I was going to jump right into college coaching. And but the world is so small, and things just work out how they're supposed to. So Coach Matt Oliver, he is our director of wrestling here at Huntingdon, and I actually knew him in high school. So when I was in high school, he was the head coach at Spartanburg Methodist Community College out in South Carolina. And my senior year, I was going to Fargo. We were at our Fargo prep camp, and he had come and run a couple sessions. So I kind of knew who he was. My freshman year, he had come to our club. We had a club after the season was over. He brought some of his guys down because he kind of wanted to try to feed into PC a little bit. So I knew who he was. I didn't know him super well, but we were friends on Facebook. I knew who he was. Yeah. Well, after he left and took this job out here at Huntingdon in 2019. And my senior year of college rolls around. My dad was pushing me he wanted me to coach college so bad. I mean, and I was like, I want to, but I think that's going to be a little longer
later.
Down.
Yeah.
And my dad had sent me this article that was all these colleges looking for women's coaches and women's head coaches. And at the very bottom of the article, it had a couple schools looking for assistant coaches. And I read it just to, look at it. I just didn't think much of it. And at the very bottom, Huntingdon College was looking for an assistant. And I was like, man, I think that's where that Matt Oliver guy went. And I looked him up on Facebook real quick, and sure enough, he's at Huntingdon. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. Didn't think anything of it for a couple weeks. And it was a couple weeks. It was maybe a month before I graduated college. And I ended up getting a call from Matt Oliver. And he basically asked me if I wanted to come check it out and see if maybe it was a good fit for me. And I was actually taking I had started a club my senior year at a local high school, an all-girls club, and I was helping run that. And so I was taking a group of those girls to Texas because Women's Nationals was out there that year.
Texas, yep.
And so I traveled out there with Coach Brandy and some of her girls, and then my girls I brought with me. And on our way back, they dropped me off in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I got a car and I drove down to Montgomery and visited. And I could just tell it was where I was supposed to be. I liked all the people here, and I just knew that whatever's meant to be is supposed to be, and it's all gonna work out. And I'm gonna get lots of experience and stuff doing this. So I took the job. I graduated college May 14th, and I moved out here June 1st. And so I'll tell you, that first year I didn't have a team because they had just announced women's being added here in January 2022. And, I got hired later. So we didn't push to have a team or anything because we just wanted to recruit basically. And, So I took the whole first year to recruit, to run camps, to really just get my name out there that first year. And it was kind of rough my first couple camps because it's kind of nerve-wracking because you have people who like don't really know you, but they expect a lot out of you. And so anyone who came to my first couple camps, like I don't know how well they really went, but hopefully my camps are way better now. So, but yeah, I used that whole year to recruit, and me recruiting in college helped me because I was already used to doing that stuff. So then I recruited, I had 11 girls come out my first year. We ended with 10, returned all 10 this year. And now I have 18 girls on roster this year. So, I'd say I'm doing a decent job as far as recruiting goes. And I had 2 national qualifiers. My coach, but that's how I got into it, how I got to Huntingdon, and where I kind of am now with, a full team currently. So.
Right. Heck yeah. Well, I know you kind of mentioned, and Coach Camp, I have a question for you off of this. I actually wanted to ask you this on the phone the other day, but I didn't. But I kind of have a question for both of you guys. But we'll start with you, Coach Camp. I know you mentioned, like, obviously you've been recruiting for a while, you've been doing these things like that, but NIL and like transfer portals, things like that, right? I know like transfer portals is like an NCAA thing, and I know that there's obviously a lot of things that go on when it comes to like, picking and choosing kids who are already in college versus recruiting them in high school and stuff like that. I guess my question is do those things affect you in any way, being where you're at and at St. Andrews? Transfer portals or NIL, things like that, or is there advantage to it, disadvantage to it? Do you even, is that something you even utilize or even have to deal with?
Well, with us being in AI, of course, we don't have a portal, and my AD makes a joke all the time about, different kids from different sports and stuff coming to her talking about, hey, I want to enter the portal, and she's just like, go ahead and you find it, let me know, because it doesn't exist for us. But
Okay.
not directly. That's I might deep dive a little bit off of, but it's a lot into that, man. I mean, it's tough because I get it, with the day and age and stuff, especially with NIL stuff, athletes get paid and stuff. And I don't know, man, it's kind of a touchy subject, but the biggest thing that I see, and you see it more, and it really even starts more at the high school level, is just the transfer thing. This almost goes back to that, one thing about being accountable, and
Right.
somebody always patting you on your back and giving you your way and allowing you to, go just get whatever you want. Like I believe in 100% on loyalty. Like if you do something, then you stick it out. Like you made that decision
Yeah.
to do that. If it didn't work out, then that's on you. Fix it, figure it out. The other side of me is a coach. It turns into one of those things. If a kid comes to you and they're trying to transfer or something, hey man, what you got to do to help that kid? Because number one, it's all about that kid and what they need and whatever they need to do to finish their story. And maybe, you guys aren't a part of it. But at the same time, if a kid ever starts talking about won't leave transfer, then that's probably not a kid you want on your program anyway, because they're already trying to get out because they're not going to always be bought in. And then that turns into it being a problem, possibly in the locker room or other ways, and then it influences other kids, and it turns into a mess. And it's kind of one of those things that they call cancers. So it could turn into that. But at the same time, like, if it's one of those things, a kid comes and, we have a mutual agreement, like, hey, I need to go. Like I had a kid, one of the first years here, he needed to move back close to us to help his mom out because they were struggling. And I got that. I understood it. He came to me, he talked to me like a man. We figured it out. I made some calls. We got him into a situation. He's in a better situation now, and he's doing the things he got to do. So, sometimes I think as coaches, it's hard not to, but kind of get caught up in that whole competition role, or just taking kids just because we have the chance and the opportunity to get them. And then we don't we kind of forget again that it's about the kid and giving them the opportunity to grow and doing what's best for them in the situation. So, like I said, the transfer thing it's kind of touchy, man. It's rough, but I get it on some aspects, but other aspects I don't get it. And the NIL thing, I mean, I foresee it as major Division One programs, wrestling especially, are going to start kind of taking it on the chin a little bit. Versus, well, I'd say lower level like Division One teams and stuff, just because it turns into a thing. Because now you've got all this money that's been flowing forever. Now it's popping up and stuff, and people can actually actively do it. You got donors, you got bigger programs with huge RTCs that have huge endowments and stuff. They have money funneling into their program, so they're going to be able to get the best athletes. They're going to be able to do this, and then it turns into, with NIL, you want your more, popular sports like your footballs and your basketballs and stuff to kind of carry your athletic programs. And then when they start doing that, then, your lower level teams like wrestling suffer. So
Yep.
it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out next couple of years. I mean, not saying anything bad about NCAA or anything, but I'm glad I'm NAIA because we don't have a lot of the same, hurdles
Legalities
that
of
they
it,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like I said, I hate it, but it's going to be really interesting here. I'd say even in the next 2 years on how a lot of things can change, because it's just get ready to get out of control. And if the NCAA doesn't step in and kind of, do some regulation on a couple of things, then it's going to get too far gone and going to have some real issues. But yeah.
It's fair. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was a very just intriguing point, because I didn't know if that has anything to do with necessarily St. Andrews or that division and things like that. Coach Lily, if you want to input on that, go right ahead. I don't know if that affects you yet, or if it's something that you've seen or dealt with, but I know that's something that I think there definitely has to be some sort of regulation for. I know it's a big D1 thing, right? Obviously, it's what people talk about. No one's talking about the Mountain Valley Conference in D2, but it's one of those things. So
Yeah, I mean, so far, it hasn't affected us really at all. I'm a newer program, so I don't yet have like the top girls vying to come here, but and I really haven't heard of it really, like NIL specifically being a big hurdle for anyone, unless you're like already at Iowa or even maybe some North Central girls. But I think a lot of the NILs that some of these girls are getting are like little sponsorships here and there, nothing like big, like how Angel Reese at LSU, when she was at LSU, was getting millions.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark and stuff. Yeah,
women's wrestling has quite gotten there yet, but I think that it will, as women's wrestling grows and NILs, like people really start understanding how those work, it's going to get a lot bigger for sure. Transfer wise, I haven't really dealt with that yet. But I'm kind of like how Marquise was saying, like I'm big on loyalty. Like when I was looking to go to college, like I was trying to find a school that I knew I was going to be at all 4 years. Like I knew I could see myself there the whole time. And I get it if something like big happens and like it's just really not for you. But like some people get mad over like petty stuff and they end up leaving over something dumb. And it's like, come on, we can be adults. We can fight through that a little bit more.
Yeah,
than
for sure.
Some people are just so quick to jump onto the portal when really some things are fixable. People just won't communicate about it. So big on let's find somewhere you want to go. And that's how, when girls are on business, I'm like, I want you to look at all your options. I want you to find the place you're going to be happiest for 4 years where you don't have to leave. And if that's not Huntingdon, that's okay. I don't want you to come here and then have to leave later. Like I want you to find somewhere you're going to be happy at. And I think a lot of people appreciate that a little bit because, some people are like, oh, don't look anymore. Just come here. And it's like, no, I want you to check out.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
for what you want. So
That's fair. Okay. Well, I really appreciate that dive in, because obviously we're dealing with two different because Huntingdon. I say that one right? Holy smokes! I might have said it right that time. Heck yeah. You're Division III, correct?
yeah,
Correct.
so
Okay.
it doesn't affect us the same way it affects Division Ones and Twos, but
Right.
we're still kind of in there a little bit. I think probably somewhere like North Central probably deals with it a little bit more than
More. Right.
us.
Okay. But yeah, so I thought it was really intriguing to get kind of the two perspectives of the two divisions for sure. So now it's kind of time. This is kind of, towards the end of our show here, that I like to dive into, I guess, the deeper parts of coaching. And so this is kind of where we start, if you've listened to this is the part that a lot of people like to comment on, at least that I speak to. So kind of the final five questions that kind of have you dig a little deep. That was my mantra as a coach, was dig deep. So I pulled that over to the podcast. So if you're ready to go, and you can dive in as deep as you want or as little as you want, right? I mean, it's 100% up to you. But this is your time to kind of shine on your philosophies and your information. So how do you build a successful culture on the level of buy-in and mindset?
Yeah, so I know for me, it's been a little challenge. I'm sure, when Marquise got St. Andrews, I'm sure it was tough for him because it was kind of rebuilding as well. And I would say for me, starting from scratch, that it's been tough because like your first year, you kind of get who you can get to come in, and then you just hope that they're all good people and like they're going to buy into what you have. But in reality, that's just not the case. And so for me, the challenge has been, all right, now I'm taking recruiting, and I'm being more selective on who I bring in, or trying to be at least, and trying to find the people who understand what my vision is for the program and what I want and the type of individuals I want. Because for me, you could be the best wrestler in the whole country, but you're a bad person, like you're not a good quality individual. Like I don't want you on my team, because you're toxic and you're going to like drag everybody else down. When in reality, it's like we want to build everyone up because we want everybody to get better, because it's not an individual sport. Like this is a team sport, whether we want to believe it or not. Like I can't get better if I don't have someone in the room with me, and they can't get better if I don't get better, and like all this stuff. So that's a big thing for me, is trying to find good individuals who we can teach you how to wrestle. Like I don't have a problem teaching you how to wrestle a little better. But I need people who were raised to be respectful to each other and to their coach, and people who want to be good individuals, because wrestling ends one day. One day you're not need to be athletic, but you're going to be a good person, and you're going to need to know how to, people you don't like and things like that. So it has been kind of a little bit of a struggle for us so far. Not a struggle, but because I do think our core group is a really good group of people, and it's just getting them to be more vocal and being more leaders to each other, and not being afraid to to tell people they need to.
Team leaders. Yeah. You want
that's a big
them to
thing.
lead the team.
And we're still young, so I think give me another year or two when I have a good large group of juniors and seniors on the team that aren't afraid to tell a freshman whenever they're messing up. Like I think that'll be a big difference, is having more upperclassmen on the team, and people who and constantly bringing in people who can be leaders and can communicate and can and do want to be here and want to get better.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Team leaders. Yeah, you want, team, captain-led teams usually seem to have the best chemistry. So that kind of leads into the second part of this. The second question I have is, how do you build a successful program on the level of wins and longevity, and how do you sustain that? I know you said you're new, right? I know a first-year head coach, right? 3 or 4 years tops on, like, I know your assistants plus this. So I know there's not like a abundance of experience there, but on your vision or what you've experienced as a team, or I should say maybe as a wrestler, how do you, like I said, build that successful program with wins and longevity, and then how do you even, sustain that?
Yeah, so for me, I believe that, it's not going to happen overnight. It's typically, especially a first year program, unless you're like really brought in all the good girls. Because it feels like there's some programs that like they got good. It feels like they got good overnight, but like they've slowly and eagerly like brought in girls. So for me, I believe that being patient and continuing to like I'm not the type of coach that sits in practice and talks to you for 20 minutes about a move. I'm not that coach. I come in, I show you what the move is, I explain it enough, and if you have questions, you let me know. If not, let's go, we're going to drill it. I don't need to know 10,000 moves that I do one time. I need to have like a couple moves that I've done 10,000 times. That's a big struggle I've had this year. They're like, I'm bored, we do this all the time, and it's like, well, have you perfected it? Are you good at it? And if the answer is no, we got to keep doing it. Stuff like that. I think the consistency of what we're doing and constantly practicing and things like that are going to project us long term. And then like with experience, like, it takes time, and you got to continue to feed into the girls and what they need, and being consistent in how we practice, things like that. Like the wins are going to come, as we work hard. And that's the big thing is like girls all the time, like, it's not about you don't have to be the fastest or the best wrestler in the room, but like, I promise, like if you're consistently working hard and giving 110% of effort, like those wins are coming, like you will catch up. And, and a lot of times, like in high school, I was part of a rebuilding program because when I came in, all of our seniors had left. And then at PC, I was the first recruiting class. So like I was part of being an athlete building that program. And so like, I understand that it takes 4 or 5, sometimes 6 years to like really build a program to be where like you ultimately want it to be. And so that's why like, hopefully you got the end of that.
Kind of, yeah, I think so. I don't know if I did, but if not, that's fine. Yeah, because you're talking about how it could take 5 or 6 years to ultimately build your program. So I do have that's actually okay, because I'm down to the final question for you anyway. The most important question of them all. The name of this podcast is Why Do You Coach? What is your why?
Yeah, my why is I just have known I've wanted to feed into other people, and I've wanted to I am someone who is the thing that fulfills me is fulfilling other people, and I happen to really love wrestling, and my why is to fulfill other people and to help other people achieve their goals, because I know what it's like to not fully achieve your goals, and I want to help other people do that and to do better and to achieve the goals that they have for themselves. So, and to make myself proud, because I think everybody deserves to make themselves proud at the end of the day. So when it's all said and done.
Dang, got me in my feels over here. That was completely different than any other coach that's ever answered. Dang, got me about to tear up. No, that's awesome. I love your why, to fulfill other people and to, I love that. Coach Camp, do you have anything that you might want to add from anything you've heard today, that maybe you didn't get to add last time, or to kind of jump on top of anything that Miss Lil said here, to kind of finish it up for us?
No, I mean, she's dead on. I mean, on everything. And even with building the program, because this is, I feel like year 70 now, but like it's year 3. Yeah, it's year 3. And just the culture change, like, having to inherit something and build it up. And I slowly understood when I got here, like, I wasn't going to be able to change everything in one day. And it's just like I tell our kids, like, you're not going to be able to fix every single problem you got wrong with your wrestling in one day. It's just kind of like you do in wrestling, one thing at a time. You isolate one problem, your most intermediate problem and try to fix it. Because 9 times out of 10, that one huge thing that you're dealing with the most is probably going to fix the rest of your problems eventually anyway. And it's just a culture thing. And I remember talking to you about it. And now it's that way, is getting that culture up of the right kids. And Lillian hit it on, like, I want good human beings. Like, you could teach somebody how to wrestle. I mean, wrestling's the easy part. Going to class, showing up, doing all the right things, being a decent human being, and doing all those other things in between is what really matters. And something we were talking about the other day, I tell our kids, you got to win at everything. You got to have a championship mindset at everything. By the way, time you get up, if you get up in the morning, if you make your bed, if you're getting up in the morning and you're doing like all the little, are you studying? Are you taking notes in class? Are you sitting in front of the class? Are you the first person in the practice room? Are you the first person in the weight room? Are you the first person that, doing everything? And that's what turns everything, because if you start doing all that right, the wrestling part is the easy part, because it's going to transition over to it. If it even is so much as doing your locker the right way, turning your laundry and cleaning up behind yourself. And that's it. That stuff breeds, and it breeds. And then when you go back and look at it, you start doing things like subconsciously without you to realize. Like you're always doing this the right way. You're always doing that the right way, and it bleeds over, man. I mean, it goes back to even being the first team to get on the mat and warm up. We used to sit and I used to talk to my guys about it, and I was like, man, they're 1-0 right now. What do you mean, Coach? Tournament ain't started. I was like, yep, but they're the first ones up warming up. I said, we sitting up here, taking 30, 40 minutes, putting shoes on, coking and joking, just having a good time, and you're not wanting to go in and, go back to getting to that uncomfortable, get comfortable again kind of feeling, because kids don't like, but, that's a whole nother thing. But the way I look at it again, like, kind of ended on is that culture thing, man, because you got enough kids doing the right thing, and you have another kid in that situation that's probably not just like them, that's kind of, they're either they're going to adapt to the group and do what everybody else is doing, or B, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and it's going to be easy to identify them. And, you can love them, but you can miss them at the same time, because, again, like I said, culture is one of the main ingredients to try to be a successful program. I mean,
Yep.
You got to have your kids doing the right things, being good human beings and stuff. And like I said, once you kind of hit that, then everything else usually kind of works itself out.
I agree. And I think that's top down, whether it's college, professional, middle school, right? I think you have to be able to build that culture. And, even if it is for a short period, it doesn't happen overnight, but start somewhere. And then, every day, 1% better, they say. So, but I will say this. I really, really appreciate you guys jumping on here today. If you guys are still listening to the podcast at this point, hope you guys are enjoying these longer episodes, because, last year at the beginning, they were 30, 45 minutes. Now we're going well over an hour. So hope you guys really enjoy these, because we're diving a little bit more. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that stuff. You guys know what to do there. If you guys are on Spotify, PocketCasts, anywhere else, make sure you guys leave a review, give us a star, but whatever you say it with your chest. And we need to know what's going on and how you guys are feeling. Coaches, I really do appreciate you guys jumping on. Hold on. Hold on. Go back to what you said. Hold on. You got to say something, Coach.
Hey, follow us on Instagram, man. It's SEU Wrestling, man. Social media is the wave, man. Go follow our platform. Of course, go follow Coach Lillian and them, man. Hawk 'em. If I see that one more time, I might scream. I'm just kidding. They do a good job of on that social media stuff. So definitely, we'll give both of us a follow. And for the young ladies and stuff out there, young guys, it doesn't matter. Coach Lillian said, and I'm a big person on that too, find your home. Find a place where you're going to be the most comfortable and you're going to be happy. And you're going to know it. Like I tell every young person, this is a chance to write your story. You get to narrate it now. So it's just a place of, finding the right fit for you and finding the right program for you and just being happy. And it's just about growing the sport and putting kids in the most beneficial situation for them. So
I like that shout out, by the way. I didn't see what you held up, but he held up the his Instagram and social media stuff. So I'll link all their stuff in the description below. YouTube, it'll be down below. Spotify, will be also in the description box below. So make sure you guys go give them a follow if you guys are in high school, or if you're a coach who has some athletes who you think can compete at the next level. Coach Camp is currently the head coach at St. Andrews University for the men's and women's side. And obviously, Coach Humphries is the women's coach at Huntingdon in Alabama. So reach out to them if you guys feel like you have some athletes. It helps them out quite a bit. And, take some stress off of them trying to find athletes, being busy. So, but with that being said, like I said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And coaches, we'll see you guys. Oh, by the way, Coach Humphries, we have to get you back on at some point. Coach Camp is the first returnee. So that shows something. I don't know what it was with him, but I guess it happened. So you're gonna have to jump back on at some point as well. I don't know when, but we'll have to do it. I hope you had a good time and I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I always enjoy seeing Marquise over there, his bald head.
Hey, yeah, we roast him now. Hell yeah, that's a way to end it right there.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah, heck yeah, I like that. I appreciate you guys for watching. Coaches, thank you guys for joining me. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Man, I can't believe she jumped over there, your bald head.
Boy, she jumped on your head, dog.